Let me ask you something that might sting a little. How many notebooks have you filled with goals you never pursued? How many vision boards have you created? How many someday lists are gathering dust on your phone? Here is a disturbing reality most people never confront. Research indicates that 88% of people who create elaborate goal frameworks never achieve even half of what they VA outlined. Not because their goals were impossible, but because the act of planning itself became a comfortable substitute for the uncomfortable reality of actually doing the work. There's a razor-thin line between genuine preparation and what I call productive procrastination, and most people spend their entire lives on the wrong side of that divide without ever realizing it. The ancient Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journals, "Stop whatever you're doing for a moment and ask yourself, am I afraid of death because I won't be able to do this anymore?" A brutal question that cuts through every excuse. Today, I'm going to tell you about someone named Maya Woman, who built an entire identity around being strategic and thoughtful, when really, she was just terrified to begin. Chapter 1. The strategy trap. Maya was 29 years old and had what looked like an impressive life from the outside. MBA from a respected university, mid-level position at a consulting firm, an apartment filled with business books, all carefully highlighted and annotated. But here's what nobody saw. Maya hadn't actually done anything original in years. She only executed other people's plans. She wanted to write a book. She'd been working on it for 4 years. What that actually meant was she had 8 different outlines, 23 folders of research for writing apps. She detested 2 online courses on how to write a bestseller, 0 completed chapters. She wanted to start a consulting practice. She'd been developing the business model for 2 years. What that actually meant was 156 pages of business plan documentation, 12 revisions of her website, wireframes, 7 different logo concepts, pricing models for 6 different service tiers, 0 actual clients she wanted to get fit. She'd been preparing for 6 months. What that actually meant was 3 different workout programs, downloaded meal plans for various dietary approaches, new workout clothes still with tags on a gym membership she'd visited twice. Just to observe 0 consistent weeks of actual exercise. Maya was unlazy. She was busy all the time, but she was busy preparing for life instead of living it. The consulting firm had a saying, "Strategy without execution is hallucination." Maya had become a hallucination artist, painting elaborate futures that never materialized. Chapter 2. The comfort of potential. One Friday evening, Maya sat in her favorite coffee shop, laptop open, surrounded by 3 different notebooks. She was creating the life system, a comprehensive framework that would finally get her on track. She'd divided her life into 7 pillars: career, health, relationships, finance, personal growth, creativity, and contribution. For each pillar, she had goals, sub-goals, metrics, quarterly objectives, and daily habits. The spreadsheet was a masterpiece, color-coded, cross-referenced. It even had conditional formatting that would turn cells green when she hit targets. By the time she finished, it was 11 p.m. She looked at her creation and felt that familiar warm glow, feeling of accomplishment without actually accomplishing anything. She went home satisfied, convinced that Monday would be different. This time, she had the right system. Monday morning, 6 a.m., her alarm rang, according to the life system. She needed to wake up and do 10 minutes of stretching, journal, for 15 minutes review, her weekly objectives, eat a protein-rich breakfast, start deep work by 7:30 a.m. She woke up and immediately saw a flaw in the plan. If she journaled before reviewing objectives, wouldn't she be journaling without context? But if she reviewed objectives first, wouldn't she be too mentally activated to journal authentically? She opened her laptop to revise the life system. By 8 a.m., she hadn't stretched, journaled, or eaten. She'd only rearranged the order of activities and added notes about optimal sequencing. This continued all week. By Friday, the life system had 23 pages of amendments, but Maya had executed exactly 0 days of it. Here's what she couldn't admit to herself. She was afraid. Afraid that if she actually tried, she might discover she wasn't as capable as she believed. As long as she was planning, she could maintain the story that she could do amazing things if she wanted to. She just hadn't started yet. The plan protected her ego. Execution would expose it. Chapter 3. The manuscript that never was Maya's book project was the clearest example of her paralysis. Sheedy had the idea 4 years ago, a book about decision-making frameworks for young professionals navigating career transitions. She had the expertise, she'd helped dozens of clients through similar situations. She had insights that could genuinely help people. But the book existed only as an expanding cloud of notes. Year 1. She spent it researching the market. She read 47 books in the category. She created comparison charts. She identified gaps in existing literature. She still hadn't written a single page of her own book. Year 2, she spent it defining her unique angle. She went through 9 different conceptual frameworks for the book. She tested 15 different potential titles on friends. She created detailed reader personas. Still no manuscript. Year 3, she spent it planning the structure. She debated whether it should be 10 chapters or 12, whether to use case studies or theoretical frameworks, whether to write in first person or third person. She created 8 different outlines. Still no actual writing. Year 4, she spent it preparing to write. She took an online course on narrative nonfiction. She bought Scrivener and spent 2 weeks learning the software. She rearranged her apartment to create the optimal writing environment. She even bought a mechanical keyboard because she'd read it made writing more satisfying. For years, 0 chapters written. Then something happened that changed everything. Former colleague, someone Maya had actually mentored, published a book on almost the exact same topic. Maya bought it immediately. She read it in one sitting. And she felt something devastating. It wasn't as good as what she could have written. The frameworks were less sophisticated. The insights were more superficial. The writing was serviceable, but not elegant. But it existed. It had 127 reviews on Amazon. It was helping people. It was real. Maya's book was superior in every way except one. Hers didn't exist. That night, she opened her document titled book_final_outline_v8.docx and stared at it for an hour. She had a choice to make. The conference that cracked everything open 2 months later, Maya's firm sent her to a leadership conference in Austin. 3 days of workshops, keynotes, and networking. On the second day, there was a session called Execution Intelligence: Why Smart People Don't Do Smart Things. The speaker was Dr. James Chen, former academic turned entrepreneur who'd built and sold 2 companies. He was about 50, spoke plainly, and had the air of someone who'd learned everything the hard way. He started with a story. When I was 32, I was a professor at a good university. I had an idea for an education technology platform. I spent 18 months researching it. I wrote a 90-page business plan. I had financial projections going out 10 years. I had a beautiful pitch deck, and I never showed it to a single customer. Then a grad student in another department launched almost the exact same thing, built it in 3 weeks. It was buggy. The interface was ugly. But he got 200 schools to test it. Within a year, he had 2,000 schools using it. Within 3 years, he sold the company for $40 million. My business plan? Still sitting on my hard drive? Perfect and worthless. Maya felt like he was narrating her life. Dr. Chen continued, "The people in this room are smart. That's actually your problem. Smart people are good at planning because planning is an intellectual exercise. Planning feels productive because you're using your intelligence. But planning is safe. Planning doesn't generate evidence. Planning doesn't prove you wrong. Planning lets you stay in your head where you're comfortable. Execution is terrifying because execution generates truth. It tells you whether your idea actually works, and whether you're actually as good as you think you are, whether the market actually wants what you're offering. And most smart people prefer beautiful hypotheticals to ugly truths." The room was silent. "Let me ask you something," Dr. Chen said. "How many of you have a project you've been planning for more than 6 months, but haven't really started?" About half the room raised their hands. Maya kept hers down, embarrassed. "If you didn't raise your hand, you're lying to yourself," Dr. Chen said. "Or you're lying to me. Either way, that's part of the problem." He let that sit for a moment. "Here's what I learned the hard way. Execution is never as hard as anticipation. The fear of doing something is always worse than actually doing it. Always. In psychology, they call this anticipatory anxiety. Your brain catastrophizes, It imagines every way things could go wrong, calculates risks that don't exist yet. But when you actually start doing the thing, reality kicks in. Reality is almost always less scary than imagination. So here's my challenge to everyone in this room. Pick one thing you've been planning, just one. And in the next 72 hours, do the smallest possible version of it. Not the full version. Not the perfect version. Not the smallest version that counts as having actually started. If it's a book, write 500 words. Just 500, they can be terrible. If it's a business, make one sales call. Just one. You can fumble through it. If it's a fitness goal, do one workout. Just one. It can be 15 minutes. The goal isn't excellence. The goal is evidence. Evidence that you can start. Evidence that the world doesn't end when you're imperfect. Evidence that doing is less painful than worrying. Chapter 5. The 500. Words that changed everything. Maya went back to her hotel room that night and opened her laptop. She looked at book_final_outline_V8 docs, then she closed it. She opened a blank document and set a timer for 30 minutes. She wrote, Chapter 1. The decision you're avoiding. Then she just started typing. No outline, no plan. Just thoughts flowing from her fingers. She wrote about a client she worked with, who stayed in a job he hated for 3 years because he could, and decide which new direction to pursue. She wrote about how his endless analysis was actually a way of avoiding the fear of choosing wrong. When the timer went off, she had 612 words. They weren't good. The prose was clunky. The structure was non-existent. There were typos. But they existed. For the first time in 4 years, Maya had words in a document that were part of her actual book, not part of a plan for her book. She felt something she hadn't expected, not pride but relief. Relief that the impossible first step was done. She went to sleep and, for the first time in months, didn't dream about all the things she needed to do. She'd already done one. Momentum of imperfection. The momentum of imperfection. The next morning, Maya woke up and looked at the 612 words. In the cold light of day, they looked even worse. Her instinct was to delete them and start over properly, with an outline, with research, with the right structure. But she remembered Dr. Chen's words. The goal isn't excellence. The goal is evidence. These words were evidence. Evidence that she could write when she stopped over-preparing. So instead of deleting, she wrote more. Another 30 minutes. Another 550 words. Over the next week, she kept going. Every day she missed 3 days. But on the days she just wrote no planning. No perfect preparation. Just sitting down and putting words on the page. By the end of 2 weeks, she had 8,000 words. It wasn't a book yet. It wasn't even a coherent first draft. But it was more than she'd written in 4 years of planning. Something strange started happening. The writing itself was showing her what the book needed to be. In all her planning, she'd imagined the book as a systematic framework, a comprehensive, structured. But as she actually wrote, she realized the book wanted to be story-driven. It wanted to follow real people through real decisions. She never would have discovered that through planning. She discovered it by doing. Chapter 7. The business that started with one email. Book project unlocked something in Maya. If she could start writing without perfect preparation, what else could she start? She looked at her consulting business plan, 156 pages of strategy, with 0 clients. She remembered Dr. Chen's challenge. Do the smallest possible version. For a consulting business, what was the smallest possible version? Not a website, not a brand, not a perfect service offering, one client. So Maya did something she'd been avoiding for 2 years. She reached out to someone who might actually hire her. There was a former colleague, David, who'd moved to a startup. 6 months ago, he'd mentioned they were struggling with organizational structure as they scaled. Maya had said, I could help with that, and then done nothing. She opened her email and wrote, Hey David, remember when you mentioned the scaling challenges at your company? I'm starting to take on some consulting clients and I think I could help. Would you be open to a conversation about what you're dealing with? No pressure, just an informal discussion. Let me know. She read it over 3 times. It wasn't perfect, wasn't polished. It didn't have her formal value proposition or her service tier descriptions or her carefully crafted positioning statement, but it was real. It was a message that could get a response. She clicked send before she could overthink it. 4 hours later, David replied, "Absolutely. When are you free this week?" Maya stared at the email. She'd just gotten what might be her first client, and all it took was 2 paragraphs and 30 seconds of courage. They met for coffee. Maya didn't have a formal pitch. She just asked questions and listened. David described the problems. Maya described how she'd approached similar situations. They talked for 90 minutes. At the end, David said, "This is exactly what we need. What would it cost to have you work with us for 3 months?" Maya had spent months developing pricing models for 6 different service tiers. In that moment, she forgot all of them. She said a number that felt fair. David said yes immediately. She had her first client. Not because of perfect planning, because of imperfect action. Chapter 8. The pattern that explained everything over the next 6 months. Maya's life transformed not because she became perfect, but because she started choosing action over preparation. The book, she wrote for 30 minutes most days. Some days the writing was good, most days it wasn't. But in 6 months, she had a complete first drafts. 62,000 words. Rough, messy, but complete. The consulting practice. After David, she reached out to 3 more people. 2 said yes. She worked with them without a formal contract structure, without a fancy website, without any of the infrastructure she thought she needed. She learned by doing. In 6 months, she had 5 clients and had made $47,000. Her health. She stopped trying to find the perfect workout program and just started moving. She did 20-minute YouTube workouts in her living room. Some weeks she worked out 5 times, some weeks once. But over 6 months, she was consistent enough that she actually saw changes in her body and energy. She noticed a pattern in all of this. Every time she replaced planning with action, she learned faster. Not because her actions were smart, they often weren't, but because actions generated feedback. And feedback is the only thing that actually teaches you anything. You can plan a book for years, but you don't learn how to write until you write badly and then fix it. You can plan a business for years, but you don't learn what clients want until you talk to real clients and hear what they actually say. You can plan a fitness journey for months, but you don't learn what your body responds to until you actually move it and observe the results. Planning is theoretical. Execution is educational. Chapter 9. The question she started asking Maya developed a new habit. Whenever she found herself planning something for more than a week, she'd stop and ask herself one question. Am I preparing to do this, or am I avoiding doing this? The difference became obvious when she started looking for it. Preparing means gathering the specific information or resources you genuinely need before starting, with a clear timeline for when you'll begin. Avoiding means endlessly researching, perfecting plans that don't need to be perfect yet, finding new reasons while you're not quite ready. The test was simple. If you've been preparing for more than 2 weeks and haven't started, you're avoiding. She applied this ruthlessly to herself, planning the book's marketing strategy before finishing the manuscript. Avoiding, stop, finish writing first, redesigning her consulting website before getting more clients. Avoiding, stop, get clients first, then make the website reflect what you actually do. Researching advanced training techniques before establishing a basic workout habit. Avoiding, stop, just work out consistently for 3 months, then optimize. This one question saved her from months of disguised procrastination. Chapter 10. The conversation that became this video. A year after that conference in Austin, Maya went back as a speaker. The organizers had heard about her transformation and asked her to share her story. The night before her talk, she had dinner with Dr. Chen, the speaker who changed her trajectory. "I never properly thanked you," Maya said. "That challenge you gave to do something small in 72 hours, it completely redirected my life." Dr. Chen smiled. "I didn't do anything. You did. I just gave you permission to be imperfect. But how did you know what to say? How did you know that would work?" "Because it's what someone told me when I was stuck in my own planning trap, and they learned it from someone else." These lessons get passed down because everyone struggles with this. Smart people especially. Why smart people especially? Because smart people know how to solve problems in their heads. They get addicted to the feeling of mental clarity, having everything figured out on paper. But life doesn't happen on paper. Life is messy and unpredictable, and you can't think your way through it. You have to live your way through it. Maya nodded. I spent 4 years planning a book that I wrote in 6 months once I actually started. And the book you wrote isn't what you planned. Not even close. It's better in some ways, worse in others. But mostly, it's just different. The real thing never matches the plan. Exactly, Dr. Chen said. That's what planners don't understand. They think the goal is to make reality match the plan. But reality is smarter than your plan. Reality knows things you don't know yet. The goal is to engage with reality and let it teach you. The science behind the trap. Let me share some research that explains why this happens. A study from Princeton examined what they called preparation bias, the tendency to over-prepare as a form of stress avoidance. What they found: when people face tasks with uncertain outcomes, their stress levels are highest before starting and drop dramatically once they begin, regardless of how well it goes. In other words, anticipation is always more stressful than action. But here's the trick our brains play on us. Preparation feels like we're readdressing the stress. We're doing something. We're making progress. But we're actually just prolonging the anxiety by avoiding the only thing that would relieve it: starting. Another study from the University of Toronto looked at perfectionism and productivity. They found that people who scored high on perfectionism indices were 2.8 times. It's more likely to abandon important projects compared to people who were comfortable with good enough. Why? Because perfectionists can't start until conditions are perfect, and conditions are never perfect. The researchers called this anticipatory perfectionism, the belief that you can think your way to a perfect plan that will eliminate uncertainty. But uncertainty can't be eliminated. It can only be engaged with. There's also fascinating neuroscience here. When you plan something, your brain releases small amounts of dopamine, the reward chemical. You feel good, you feel productive, but you get the same dopamine hit from planning that you get from doing so. Your brain can't tell the difference. This is why planning becomes addictive. You get the reward without the risk. The only way to break the cycle is to force yourself to take action before your brain is ready to begin while you're still uncomfortable. The hard truth nobody wants to hear. Here's what I need you to understand. Your plans are not as good as you think they are. I know that's hard to hear. You've spent weeks or months on these plans. They're detailed. They're thoughtful. They account for contingencies. But they're based on what you know now, and what you know now is incomplete. The only way to know what you do and know is to start doing and let reality teach you. Maya's book? Her plan said it should be a framework-driven, systematic guide. Reality taught her it needed to be story-driven and personal. Her consulting business? Her plan said she needed a website, a brand package, and formal service tiers before getting clients. Reality taught her that clients care more about whether you can solve their problem than whether you have a polished website. Her fitness journey. Her plan said she needed the optimal program based on her body type and goals. Reality taught her that any program done consistently beats the perfect program that never gets started. Your plan is a hypothesis. Execution is the experiment. You can't learn without running the experiment. What this means for you, so here's what I want you to do not next week. It's not when you're ready, but today. Pick one thing you've been planning. Just one. It might be a creative project you've even outlining, a career move you've even researching, a relationship. You've even waiting to initiate a health change. You've even preparing for a business, you've even strategizing. And ask yourself honestly, have I been planning this? Or have I been avoiding this? If you've been working on it for more than a month without any tangible output, you know the answer. Now, here's your challenge. Do the smallest real version of it in the next 48 hours. Not the perfect version. Not the complete version. The smallest version that counts is actually having started. If it's a book, write 300 words. They can be terrible. Just write them. If it's a business, reach out to one potential customer. Have one conversation. It can be awkward. It's a creative project. Make the first piece. It can be rough. If it's a career move, send one application or have one coffee meeting. It can be imperfect. If it's a relationship, send one message. It can be simple. The goal is not to succeed. The goal is to generate evidence that you can start, because here's what Maya learned and what you need to learn. Doing is always easier than worrying about doing. The version of the task that exists in your head with all its complications and risks and potential failures is always scarier than the task itself. Action dissolves anxiety. planning preserves it. The real transformation, a year and a half after that first 612-word writing session, Maya's life looked completely different. The book published, not perfect, but real. 47 reviews averaging 4.3 stars. Sales modest but growing. More importantly, she got emails every week from readers saying it helped them make decisions they'd been avoiding. The consulting practice. 6 ongoing clients, $140,000 in annual revenue, and she'd quit her corporate job. She still didn't have a fancy website, just a simple page with testimonials and a contact form. Her health. She'd worked out consistently for over a year. Not perfectly, she missed plenty of weeks, but consistently enough that she de-lost 22 pounds and felt genuinely energetic for the first time in years. But the real transformation wasn't external, it was internal. Maya was no longer the person who planned perfectly and never started. She'd become the person who started imperfectly and improved by doing. And the moment she knew she truly changed was when a junior colleague asked her for advice. "Maya, I want to start a side business, but I don't know if I'm ready. What should I do first?" Old Maya would have said. "Research your market, write a business plan, make sure you have the right structure." New Maya said. "Try to get 1 customer this week. Just 1. Don't worry about having everything figured out. Just see if someone will pay you for something you can do. Everything else you can figure out later." The colleague looked uncertain. "But I don't have a website, or you don't need it yet. You need a customer. Start there. Everything else is just planning, and planning without action is just fear in disguise. The choice you have right now, a war again, at a fork in the road. Path 1. You close this video and go back to planning. You tell yourself you'll start soon. You just need to figure out a few more things. You refine the plan. You do more research. You wait for the right moment. And a year from now, you're still planning, still preparing, still waiting. Path 2. You close this video and you do something. Something small, something imperfect, something that scares you a little because it's real. And a year from now, you've built something. Now you plan something different, probably messier, but real. And you've learned more in that year of imperfect action than you've learned in all the years of perfect planning. The choice is yours. But let me leave you with this. You already know what you need to do. You've known for a while. It's that thing that keeps coming up in your thoughts. That project or goal or change that you keep circling back to. You're not missing information. You're not lacking a better plan. You're just afraid. And that's okay. Fear is normal. Fear means you care about the outcome. But you have to decide. Are you going to let fear make you wait for perfect conditions that will never come? Or are you going to feel the fear and start anyway? Because starting is the only way forward. Not perfect starting, not confident starting, just starting. Perfect action beats perfect planning every single time. So stop planning, start doing. The world doesn't need your perfect plan. It needs your imperfect contribution. Comment below. What's the one thing you're going to start this week? Be specific. Make it small. Make it real. And if you found value in this, watch the next video where we explore why waiting for motivation is another trap that keeps you stuck. Thank you for your time and attention. Now go do something. Even if it's messy. Even if you're scared. Just go do it.